What is up, guys? Welcome back to Real Talk. This is kind of a new segment for the show called Afterthoughts. And basically, what we're going to do is each episode, I usually poll the community, for each guest, I usually poll the community and get questions and collect questions from them. Rather than lumping them into the main portion of the show, we're just going to do another video and we're going to answer every question. So we'll see if every guest wants to do this. Total Biscuit.
I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with
they
no.
probably won't want to, but if Total Biscuit wants to do it and I get content for it, I mean, why not? So, first question. I actually am throwing this in there for myself. What did you think of Liquid Rising? Have you had a chance to watch it yet?
I have watched some of it. I haven't watched all of it. I'm waiting for it to get going. Like, as a documentary, I'm not sure it's all that good. Like, there's some great interviews, but it seemed to me like it was watching ESFI World interviews one after another. Like, where's the documentary part of it? Documentaries have to have a storyline, and it isn't there. Now, from what I've heard, it's because they when they started producing it, they didn't have Tasia, they didn't have Zinio, and they felt that it wasn't inclusive enough of that. And like, look, really, let's be totally honest here. Who do we care about? Not Taja, not Zinio. We care about the white guys. I'm sorry, but that's the way. Maybe we care about Hero a bit more because he's been with them longer. He's got some good stories behind him, like his DreamHack win, and he's more approachable. But we don't actually care about the other two Koreans from a personality standpoint. So it sucks that they didn't go with their original idea. It's still good, and I certainly don't regret donating to it, but I think as a documentary, it's certainly not that great, and I'm hoping that Star Nation and Sons of StarCraft end up being significantly better than that.
Yeah, my thoughts on it, I didn't feel like it was an actual documentary. I thought it was an hour and 30-minute interview with... And that's fine. Like, it was interesting content that way, but...
I hoped for the story. I hope to see... this is not Liquid Rising. I want to see this rise. I guess, they weren't doing all that well in tournaments. It's a shame they didn't film it earlier.
Especially after watching Indie Game for me, I was expecting something else. So,
Indie Game was quite the thing.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Go watch that, guys, if you haven't.
You should watch it.
It's on Steam. It's very easy to get. It's only $10. So
that's great.
Starting with the user questions, who do you like working with the most from Sinin_BE or B?
Who would I like working with the most? I mean, from a caster standpoint, Apollo. He's great to work with. He always adapts very nicely to any kind of situation, and he takes a lot of the pressure off. Because I know that the analysis is going to be there. It's going to be great, and we'll be able to play off each other quite nicely. We have a similar role that the way Tasteless explained his role in the Tastosis duo, in that he's there to provide, to color up the broadcast. He's also there to kind of translate the really complicated stuff for the newer viewers. That's what we do, and yeah, it works so well. I'm a big fan of casting with him.
From Elder the Third, what's your motivation behind the constant content output?
Money. It's fairly obvious, isn't it? It's my day-to-day job. I think there's obviously a motivation issue there as well, because you can do your job, but are you really motivated to constantly do it well? That's the point. If you go in day out to your 9 to 5, are you really motivated? Well, in the case of this, I'm driven because it's something I've got complete control over. I'm doing this for myself and for my company, not for someone else, and I could do whatever I want. And that freedom is liberating, and it really gets me enthusiastic about what could I do tomorrow. This is great. I can do what new games will I get to play? What influence, what changes can I make to the industry, even in such a small, minor way as my channel does? So, aside from the fact that it gets me paid, it's all about that, I think. It's all about that freedom and that creativity.
Oh man, some of these usernames. From Andy Yonanate? I'm just going to go with that. What was your proudest moment since becoming an esports figure?
Proudest moment since becoming an esports figure. Like, I think there's not one single moment. It's all about every single tournament I go to, and when someone comes to me afterwards and says, I really enjoyed this tournament, I really enjoyed your casting, and I was getting so hyped and things like that. I think whenever someone comes to me and said I wasn't really into StarCraft before I saw your casts, that's always, each individual one of those is a proud moment for me. I don't think one's ever greater than the other. It shows, it makes it all worthwhile, and it vindicates you. It says, my style of commentary that was designed very much to be the kind of entry level and to really get people hyped and into it It works. This guy right here, or this girl right here, is living proof of that.
Let's see. From Dudeberry, was there a time when Total Biscuit wasn't cynical?
Yes, actually there was. I think anyone that's listened to the first episode of Blue Please, I had a much more positive outlook on things than I do now. But at the end of the day, is there any adult that's not cynical after going through so much bullshit? I always had a bit of skepticism, but I don't think I was anywhere near as cynical as I am right now, although I have a feeling that the positivity may be overcoming that just a little bit. I've never hated everything, though. I think everyone thinks like, all right, that's like, no, go watch my WTF is. There's like some stuff like Frozen Synapse and Magica. You know, I go crazy for those kind of games. I was really, really enthralled by them. I think you can hear the kind of passion in my voice about it. But yeah, I definitely am more cynical than I used to be, and that's probably a good thing.
Probably one of my favorite user-submitted questions that I've at least read so far from Rambling Josh. What would you rate this interview on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, this interview has been absolutely fucking terrible. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 right there for that. That's I don't know if you know, but that's a running joke from the podcast. We said on the Game Station podcast that wouldn't it be great if we did these really short reviews where our score completely contradicted everything we said? And it's like, this is the worst fucking game I've ever played. It's mechanically broken in every solid respect. 10 out of 10!
Gotcha.
I think it was mostly while we're mocking Metacritic, really. But yeah, this interview is definitely a 10 out of 10, JP. Definitely.
Well, thank you very much. From Wargable, what's your favorite music sandwich? All right, we're just going to do these in order because
the fuck is a music sandwich?
No. So it's multiple ones, so we'll go one by one. What's your favorite music?
Favorite music? Well, metal. I listen to metal all the time, as much as I get the chance to. My favorite band is Iron Maiden, and continues to be, especially after seeing them on Thursday, where they were fucking incredible. Oh, so good. So good.
I like the escalation that this user uses. So what's your favorite sandwich?
Favorite sandwich? Ooh. Fish fingers. A fish finger sandwich.
What?
That's very strictly a British thing.
Yeah. What is in is?
Do you have fish fingers in America? I don't think you do you?
I've never heard of it. Is it a fish like fried fish?
It's
sandwich
it's like a breaded fish,
okay.
but they make them in a kind of a stick. Yeah, so maybe about kind of that thick. Like what I used to do is I would grill them. This is actually something a lot of people eat in the UK. I think it's maybe a kid's food, but I fucking love it anyway. You grill like 3 or 4 fish fingers. You put them in between 2 bits of nice crusty bread, and you put ketchup on it and eat it. It was great, the greatest thing in the world. So fish finger sandwich all the way.
So what is your favorite beer? And this is just strictly speaking
I don't drink
beer.
It.
No beer?
I don't drink beer. No, I hate it. I hate the taste of beer. I fucking hate it. And you know what? I'm not particularly self-conscious about what I drink, so if I think that something is nice, I'll just drink it. And if I don't give a shit. It's like, oh, you don't drink beer, you're not a man. It's like, no, it's fucking awful. There's a reason why I think a lot of people in the UK, men, are switching to cider. And like beer sales in the UK are dropping, cider sales are going much higher, because cider's stronger, it's nicer, it has a cleaner taste, and it's still manly. You know, so like, I'll have a cider, absolutely.
What is your favorite liquor then? The next level.
Liquor, vodka, all the way. My favorite vodkas being Russian Standard Gold. That's nice and smooth, and Grey Goose.
Have you tried any? Have you tried any Alaskan distillery?
No, I haven't.
I need to get you some of that.
Do
you like flavored vodka or
just alcohol, JP?
Do what?
Flavored? No, not really. It's like it doesn't matter if it's flavored or not. It's still going to taste like shit when you drink it. It's not about. Like, if you're taking a straight shot of it, it's not about the taste of vodka, it's about the feel of the vodka afterwards. It's the warming feel. I found in Anaheim, actually, I think I might have mentioned this to you, but I don't know if you ever tasted it. I found cake vodka. Yeah, I've had it. There's, I don't think you've got these in the US, but there's a series of bars and clubs called Vodka Revolution in the UK, and they're all like Russian themed. They've got like a hammer and sickle star thing. They have every flavor of vodka you imagine: chocolate, cake. There was vodka, one of us. Good. Glacier mint. You want something that burns like a motherfucker? So like Glacier mint. Yeah. It burns so good. Yeah, I love Rumpelmans is probably my favorite liquor, so I need to try some of that. And finally, from Morgable, I don't know if you can answer this, because Jenna might watch, but who is your favorite porn star? You know, I'll fucking answer it anyway. You'd be surprised how much about this shit we actually talk between me and the wife. We're very open about talking about this kind of stuff. Favorite porn star? Oh, Jesus. Probably, You don't put that screen on me while I'm saying this. Jesus, like.
Well, I had to
zoom in
cough. I had
right
to
now.
cough. That's why.
Oh yeah, that's why. That's why you did it. Yeah, you just want to look at my face while I'm saying it. Probably Alexis, Texas, I think.
Okay. All right. From Twig, how excited for PlanetSide 2 are you, and what inside info can you give us?
To be honest, like they've been so fucking open about PlanetSide 2 anyway. I don't even know what I could say about it that you don't already know. And I'm really excited for it because it was the first MMO I played, and this one's looking good. I'm also worried about it as well because I really hope they don't fuck it up. It's looking good so far. I'm just hoping that they don't make a huge mistake along the way. I guess we'll see in the beta when we get the big scale combat when we shake it down, see what's really wrong with it. Insider info though, there's nothing that you guys don't
release date for the beta?
Release date for the beta, I can't tell you that because I don't even know that. Like Smedley won't tell me. He keeps teasing me about it, and it's like, tell me, Smedley. Like, no, we're not telling anyone. Most of the company doesn't even know that. I've seen things that you people wouldn't believe in the SOE offices, man. I tell you.
Gotcha. From Mint Warrior, what was your most emotional gaming moment?
The only one, I think that there were so many of them with, say, Deus Ex, for instance. That game has engaged me more than any other game known to man. And I think that I felt more emotional responses in that game than I have in any other game. But recently, the one that's really stuck with me is Journey. Journey on PlayStation 3. Good. Yeah. You know the bit I'm talking about on the mountain in the snow? You know the bit I'm talking about. I can't spoil it because everyone should try this game.
They really should.
Buy a PlayStation 3.
And don't...
It's not own one anyway.
Don't stream it. Just play by yourself.
Let's play it. Yes. Play by yourself. Don't have anyone else in the room. Don't read anything about that game. Play it. It takes about 90 minutes to beat. That moment, man, that was intense. That moment was and what happened afterwards as well is like it's beautiful. It's actually beauty in a video game. It's amazing.
I guess I'll have to talk to you about it off camera because my favorite moment is a little bit different, but it spoils the entire game, so I'm not going to say anything. Yeah. But go play Journey. I cannot agree with you enough about that. How has moving to the U.S. affected your workload from Primarch the Mage?
I think it's made it a little bit easier. I mean, it's certainly from having a better internet connection is certainly helpful. I've got a more powerful PC. I've got a bit more better office environment, and more importantly, I've got my wife to actually help me because my organizational skills are terrible. I had a really inefficient workflow as a result of that, and I think it's got a little bit better lately. It's funny when this comes out that I haven't released a huge amount of videos. I'm not really back on my regular schedule because I'm still readjusting after the month on the West Coast. Yep. But it really has helped so much in the respective organization and what I've been able to do, and the access as well. Like I can just fly to studios now and do stuff from there, and there's actually a lot of doors that have opened up as a result of that.
This one was originally just one question, but I'm going to make it a two-parter because the beginning of it I need to know more about. But the question is, as someone who's commissioned a painting of Day 9, how do you feel about the current criticisms of him? First part, why did you commission a painting of Day 9?
Why did I commission Day 9? Because he's actually a friend, like a legit.
Do you have the painting with you, or is it too far away?
I don't. I can show you the image though. Like I can find the guy because he put it up on DeviantArt to have a look at it. This is the same guy. If you switch back to my little troll thing for a second, like that, it's the same guy that did this for me. Yeah. So I asked him. It's like, well, Day 9's kind of doing his graduation. Is there any way that I could commission a piece of work? And that's exactly what I ended up doing. I'm just trying to find it. I don't know if he's still got it up on his DeviantArt. I hope he does. Because he's come up with some incredible stuff. Ah, there it is. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to throw this over to you. Make it nice and easy. Oh, goddamn copy-paste crap.
Are you putting it in chat?
Yeah, I'll pop it in the chat for you. There you go.
Here, I'll put.
So there's the picture, and maybe you can download it and show it on stream. I don't know if you can pull that off, but
let's see.
I thought it would just be nice for him, you know. He's supported me a lot. He tweets about my stuff. He has given me some good advice in the past. I've talked to him an awful lot about casting and what mistakes I've made and how I can best do that. And I think he's a really, really nice person. He genuinely is as well. But the funny thing about Day 9, and I will come into the criticism, I guess, in a second, is that some people have personas, and then some people are their persona. And I think Day 9 is a very extreme example of that.
That's
Like,
a really smart way to say that about Sean. I could not agree more with you.
yeah, it's Day 9. Whenever I've been at gigs with him, Day 9 has been Day 9 in front of everyone else, and then he disappears. Like, he actually disappears. He vanishes into a puff of smoke. Like, he doesn't tend to come out with people and drink and everything like that. And I don't think that's really kind of breaching any privacy about him. I think everyone knows this. They never see him out drinking with people, or I mean, not that you have to drink to be cool or anything. I will frequently dodge drinking because I'm not into binge drinking anymore. I drank myself to death over 4 years of university. I don't need to do that anymore. But it is odd. Like, he's a very reserved person considering how outward he seems to be on camera. And I don't think that makes him fake. I just think that he is completely encompassed by his persona. He is completely driven by it. That is who he is in front of people. And a lot of more people than you might imagine end up being like that. They have this persona they put on for people. It is still them. It is a part of them. It becomes a part of them. They can't separate themselves from it. But I think knowing the real Day 9 is very difficult. And I don't think many people do know the real Day 9.
Yeah. Sean, the real Day 9 is, he comes through very emotional in his cast and his dailies and everything about him content-wise. And I think that's the real Day 9. Kind of seeing him when
I think that's who it is, yeah.
He's not on, kind of behind the scenes or in a hotel room, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he's just a normal guy who's very passionate about everything, and
he's always passionate about it. Like, the passion isn't fake. That I'll say for a fact. Like, even when you see him kind of backstage, the thing he does backstage. God, I'm going to get in trouble with him here. I
know. I probably
he'll
will
understand. He's cool about this kind of shit. Like, especially lately, he's had to really watch what he said on casts. Like, he'll make dirty jokes all the time behind the scenes. We did a cast for DreamHack that was their staff tournament. Yeah, and it was private. No one else got to see that. And I co-cast with him. It was the only time I've ever got to co-cast with Day 9, legit. And we just made dick jokes for like 20 minutes. Yeah. Like, he used to do that kind of stuff, and I think he's cleaned up lately because he's become kind of a major media personality. Like, the funny thing is, we went to you were at that dinner with us at Morton's, remember, after Anaheim, where we went to dinner with the Nvidia guys and Husky and all that, and Day 9 was there having dinner with Mike Morhaime.
Yeah,
it's like, and I think that is who he really is now. He is more connected than you can possibly imagine, and I think that obviously he's had to maybe change just a little bit to get to that kind of state.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, I still think he's an awesome guy. He's still a great friend. He's fun. He's enthusiastic, overly so. Like, I'm sometimes overwhelmed by how enthusiastic he is. Enthusiasm costs lives, You've got to be careful with that kind of shit.
That's very true.
But yeah, I don't regret sending him that picture. Like, I hope he's got it somewhere, and I hope he liked it. I think he deserved just something a little bit special. He's done a lot for this community.
Absolutely.
I think the backlash against him is predictable. You either die the hero or see yourself, become the villain over a long period of time. I've mangled the sentence. Sorry, Batman fans, but you know how it is, and you also know how the community gets. Like, they're bipolar as shit. One week they love you, next week they fucking hate you. And for Day 9, there's a particular brand of hater that are very, very persistent. And that's because he's big. He's important, so people hate him. Welcome to the reality of not only the internet, but real life. There's a reason why celebrity bashing exists. It applies to the internet, real life. People just want to tear people down to their level because they feel insecure about their life. That's just a fucking fact. It's been that since the dawn of time. Jealousy is the killer. It's Shakespearean tragedies are based around jealousy. Some guy in a cave bludgeoned some other guy to death because he had a bigger dick or whatever. That's what it is.
Is that Shakespeare? Is that what?
That might not be the Shakespearean version. I'm just saying it's probably historically accurate.
Maybe that's what they teach you in London, the real Shakespeare.
That's the real Shakespeare. There's some seriously filthy stuff in some of that Shakespeare, I tell you. Or Chaucer. Oh my god, we did Chaucer when I was in 6th form, and like, it is porn. Except you can't understand that it's porn because it's ye olde English, so no one has any idea what it's all about. But it is mostly about fucking. That's what it is.
Well, it's funny. It's funny too, because like, and I went to private school, and in the Bible, like Song of Solomon and What is that other book? One of the other. It's basically porn as well. Like
Yeah,
I think when it comes down to it, like in every major literary work of any time, there's gonna be some dirty stuff in it. So
of course there is.
moving right along, that was a weird tangent we got on from.
That was odd, wasn't it?
Yeah, from Euphoric. You've gotten some flack in the past for your casting, but in your eyes, what makes a great caster, and how did you improve your casting abilities?
Well, for me, from my standpoint, I try to hype. I try to bring a professional sounding cast that is essentially based on American play-by-play and has elements of European soccer commentators. And I think that if you watch European soccer commentators, you understand where I'm coming from, because these people go all out. And this is actually an element of Korean StarCraft casting as well. A lot of people like say, oh, why isn't anyone as excited as the Koreans while commentating? Well, that's what I shoot for. I don't think I'm there yet. But it's, for me, I know that I'm limited and I'll never be analytical because I don't have time to play. If I dedicated 100% to the game, which I don't want to do and I'm not interested in doing, then maybe I could be, analytical. Maybe I could be high level. But to me, StarCraft has always been this kind of hobby and passion project. So I try to work on my strengths and avoid my weaknesses as much as possible. If I don't know something, I just generally don't say it or ask Apollo, because that's not an illegitimate way of commentating. In fact, that's exactly how normal sports commentary works. That's why the analysts are there. The play-by-play is supposed to feed questions to them to allow for them to speak and really show off their knowledge. And then, of course, you toss back to the play-by-play, and he can kind of translate that really heavy stuff. So it's not that I don't understand what Apollo's saying. I understand everything that he's saying. I know why he's saying these kind of things. But a lot of that can be sometimes a little bit complicated for the more casual fans. So
Yeah.
I try and be there for them and hopefully just get people excited. That's all I'm really there for. I'm there to augment the game in terms of how exciting it is as a spectator sport, and hopefully I achieve that most of the time.
From Govad, he says, you've said that StarCraft is more of a labor of love than a job. What about StarCraft specifically makes you want to devote your time to it as opposed to many other esport games and or hobbies you could spend your spare time partaking in?
Well, in terms of versus other esports games, because the best one there is, and that's just a simple fact. You can talk about LoL and its size, but as an esport game, it bores the shit out of me. And that's as a LoL player. I play League of Legends, and I still don't want to watch it. I have no interest in watching it whatsoever. So, to me, StarCraft's got this great universal appeal that I've never seen in an esport before. Maybe it's existed before in the past for some game, but I can't think of one. So, to me, the response of the audience and the variance in the kind of people that watch StarCraft is the coolest thing. It's like going to a concert, like I'd compare it to, say, going to Iron Maiden, for instance. I saw anywhere between age 2 to 80 at that gig. And not just that, but like different ethnicities and everything like that. Latinos really love Iron Maiden as well, really popular in Brazil and things like that. So it's the same as StarCraft. I think you see a lot of variance and a nice big demographic, a really exciting, colorful, cosmopolitan demographic that really enjoys StarCraft, and it's something that other games just don't share.
It's very true. It's very true. From Zoxes, I guess. Do you still keep in contact with Emperor?
No, sadly not. I don't even know if he's even doing anything anymore with esports, but it's kind of sad because he's a very talented guy, but he's also a very fiery person. Like, when we fucking fought. Holy shit, we fought. And he's extremely talented. He's very well spoken, a really passionate guy, but basically they had a kid and he dedicates to his job more so than he does esports, and I haven't spoken to him in ages, which is unfortunate.
From Mike Leus, he says, I know that StarCraft 2 is only a very small part of all the content you produce, yet you work so hard as many full-time casters. Or work as hard as many full-time casters, sorry. Do you enjoy it proportionally to the amount of effort you put into it, or is the ROI just that worthwhile? Do you see this as a long-term stable market worth pursuing so heavily?
Not really. I mean, ROI is not something we've really concerned ourselves with, and many people actually claiming that StarCraft is starting to kind of hit the brakes a bit. Maybe Heart of the Swarm will actually get back in there. And only recently have I really started actually making any money from doing events and being able to demand the kind of money that would justify not doing stuff on my channel. So, for me, it's all about the enjoyment. It's always been about the enjoyment. I do live gigs because it's fun. I love being in front of a crowd and hyping things up and things like that. So, that's all I want to do with it. I don't think I work as hard as full-time casters, not by any stretch of the imagination. I think I don't work anywhere near as hard. If you saw how much work Apollo puts in before every cast, like compared to what I do, it's not even close. Apollo works his arse off to be as good as he is, and he deserves every piece of success he can possibly get his hands on. So, yeah, I disagree with that. I think it's obvious that I do this part-time. It's obvious that what I can bring to the table is not StarCraft specific. It's because I have a lot of experience with broadcast, and I can do things that other people necessarily can't, even if I don't know as much about the game as others.
From Tim Wizard, and you will probably know this acronyms. What LGBT is that?
Lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual.
Oh, well, I thought it was going to be Britain or something. I didn't mean it.
No. I want to know where this question's going.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the best way to start. Would you consider hosting an event supporting an LGBT-relevant charity? I can't help but feel that there is a sore spot for myself and some other LGBT StarCraft players, and your success in charity events could really demonstrate your respect for the LGBT community, regardless of other disagreements.
Yeah, I know what this is about. I'll say what I said in the first time. Basically, it's this is a story about when I was in a chat room for a disabled guy, and he was raising money for what was essentially a new support cushion. He's a disabled gamer, and there was a guy in there spamming a fake PayPal link, basically, and actually stole money. Yeah, and I think I said something. I pretty much called him a faggot. You know, that's what I said. And there was a huge blow-up about it. Someone screen capped it. This was in a chat, by the way. This wasn't in a cast or anything like that. This was in a chat. And this ended up on Reddit. There was a huge thing. And I posted just saying, look, at the end of the day, I feel that language is an ever-evolving thing. And yes, it is an offensive term. It was meant to be an offensive term, but it wasn't meant to be offensive in that way. Would that kind of platitude, this is what I would ask to those who are still upset about it, would that kind of platitude even help? Would it really? I mean, because you just, I think they've just explained why they want it done. It's not something that I would, do off the top of my head. Like, if I'm going to support a charity, I'm going to support a charity that actually helps people who are genuinely actually dying from thirst and hunger in third world countries. I feel priorities is very important. It doesn't matter what charity you support. That's a personal decision. But for me, I try and support the charities that can do the most good. Now, if you're saying to me, well, you should support a lesbian, gay, bi, transsexual charity to essentially make up for what you did and the damage that you did, then I'd have to ask, one, what damage? And two, you're essentially saying to me that you would like me to do a PR stunt in order to make you feel good about yourself again. That doesn't seem like a very good thing to me. That seems completely fake. That's not who I am. I never apologized for saying that word, and while I don't incorporate it into my regular speech, I thought that at that point it was an entirely appropriate insult to throw in the direction of someone that was stealing money from a crippled guy. I just want to repeat that. He was a criminal defrauding a disabled person. Yes, that makes him just a bit of a dick, you know? And if I look back on it and said, would I have not said that word again? Of course I wouldn't have said it, because of the drama that it caused, not because I feel that it's wrong. And the actual amount of support that I got from the LGBT community after that was surprising. The amount of people that said, we really don't like the element of our community that always gets up in arms about it because we feel that it weaponizes the word. It gives power to the word that the word shouldn't have. And that in reality, they would be rather happy if it slipped into as just a genuine insult in the way that previous the words now, swear words and insults, don't mean the same as they used to. Lunatic used to be a genuinely offensive term, for instance. It isn't anymore. It's not even a swear word. It's not a curse word. Nobody would consider that, but it used to be genuinely offensive. The meaning of words changes over and over, and I think it comes down to intent. And some people will tie it to, well, you use that word because you tie a negative connotation to being gay, and you use it as an insult. It's like, well, not really. And in fact, I would say that a lot of the online community doesn't use it that way anymore. I think when the word faggot is used, it is not meant as an insult towards gay people, bi, transsexual. It is meant in a completely different way, and words do change. So I don't think I would do that, honestly. I think that those who understand my point of view will understand my point of view. Some will never. And no amount of posturing and no amount of PR stunts, which is what this would be, it would be a dishonest, disingenuous PR stunt, would actually help. And I don't think that there's really any more to say on the matter. And if people are going to hold a grudge about it, whatever. I own up to what I said. I own up to the fact that you found it offensive. Okay, fine. You found it offensive. I also own up to the fact that I am not apologetic about it. And I continue to not be apologetic about it. It is not something I use in regular speech, in professional conduct, or of course in my casting in any way, shape, or form. I am highly supportive of people like Scarlett, for instance. I've always stood up for her and continue to stand up for her. And I say the word her, not it, her, with very good reason. So I don't think I really have anything to prove, and doing that wouldn't prove a thing anyway.
Just as an aside, have you seen Louis C.K.'s bit on that word?
I have.
I think that's
It's good.
good.
I think the problem is that I'm fairly sure he actually apologized for that at one point.
Really?
Because he got such a massive backlash for it. But the point that he makes is kind of legitimate. Yeah, and that's what you've kind of really got to understand about it. And the weaponization of words is, I feel, more damaging than simply casually using the term could possibly be. And you can turn around and say, oh, well, you wouldn't use a racist epithet around black people or anything, would you?
right.
And it's like, well, yeah, but think about what... You remember that tweet that Huck did that he had to delete and then by EG Management? This was about the Mono Battles tournament. He sent me a...
I remember...
He sent me a tweet.
Go on.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say it. I'll say it right now. I'll say the tweet verbatim. Here's the quote. Let me in on this moon battles, nigger. And that's what he said.
Wow.
And they had to delete that. It's like, was he being racist? No, he wasn't being racist. He was doing it because that he was using that kind of speech because in that kind of scenario it was funny, and he was using it in the way that you hear an awful lot these days from a hell of a lot of black people and even white people as well. They just use it as a general term of endearment, and if anything, that's kind of a bit positive, because the more of a term of endearment and the less that it actually means the derogatory term aimed at a black person, the better it will be in the long term. But at the end of the day, this argument is always going to happen. People are always, because it's such a sensitive topic, it's not going to end, unfortunately, not for a very long time at any rate. So I know I'm going to take flack for what I've just said. At the end of the day, I feel that being honest is the most valuable thing you can possibly be. Yeah. I feel that being disingenuous and lying to people is the worst insult you could ever send in the direction of anyone. And I'm not going to say to the LGBT community, I am really sorry for what I said, because I'm not. And I would be lying to you if I did. And I feel I made my justification for saying it very clear.
Well, if anything, I could take flack for my ignorance. I thought Lower Great Britain was what that stood for.
The hell?
That's
more offensive than anything I've ever said.
I know. I've never heard.
Christ, man.
I've never heard that acronym before. And then when I asked you and said that you would probably have more familiarity with it,
yeah,
that was bad. So moving right along, I can't edit that out. But M.M. Kramer, do what?
It's real talk, man. It's no fluff.
There you go. There you go. Total Biscuit, you're a gamer through and through. What are your top 3 games of all time and why?
I always know what my top game is. I can always tell people what that is. Top 3 is more difficult, but I would probably say number 3 would be Guardian Heroes on the Sega Saturn, because I love brawlers, like things like Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
And Guardian Heroes kind of takes it to this amazing level where you've got your kind of choose your own adventure kind of feel to it. Great graphics, really imaginative characters. It's now on the 360. You can play it, and you should, by the way, because it's incredible. And it had some really awesome ideas. It's very, very unique. And I played the hell out of that game. I unlocked every one of the 50-plus characters. We played 6-player arena duels. Incredible game. Really imaginative. A lot of innovation in that. And it's by a great company as well. A company's called Treasure. And Treasure have never really made a bad game. They make some incredible stuff. As regards to my second favorite game, that one's a little bit more tricky because there's a few things competing for it. I could go as far as to say something like Free Space 2, for instance, that had a genuinely astonishing set of missions. Like they really got the pacing right in that game. They really got a great feel to it. But I don't know if I would say it was my second favorite, because I think in the space genre it's beaten out by X Beyond the Frontier, which is a series of games. It's still available. I'm still making games in this series. This was the first one.
Okay.
And it's a space exploration game where you have a ship. You can basically fly around anywhere you want. It was a very basic mission system. You trade. You build up a fleet of your own. You build up star bases of your own and complexes of industry. You can do so much in that game. It's very big, a complex and deep sandbox kind of situation. It's almost like playing Eve single player, but with a proper combat system. Like, you're in the cockpit, you're flying. And I think because I spent so much time in that and I got so immersed into it, it was a beautiful game. It had incredible music. It was an amazing universe to be involved in. I think probably X Beyond the Frontier gets number 2. And number 1 is Deus Ex. Like, 100 times out of 100, I'll tell you Deus Ex.
The original, right?
The original Deus Ex.
Okay.
Not 2 or 3. The original Deus Ex. One of the best games ever made, as far as I'm concerned. Incredible gameplay, incredible level design, great storytelling, exceptional lore backing that game up. Great characters, even though the voice acting was garbage. It really was terrible.
I remember that.
Oh my god, JC, a bomb! A bomb! It's, what a shame. But that game, I've played it through about 9 separate times. I'll probably install it again after this, because I've mentioned it now. I want to play it again. I always find new things whenever I play that game, and it is just a design marvel, regardless of how clunky it is, like in terms of combat and stealth. It doesn't matter. It's all about telling a story without using, cutscenes. It's about interactive dialogue. It's about choices that make a difference within the game.
Right.
And it does all of those things so well. And emergent gameplay is foremost in that. You get to do things that the game wasn't even designed to do, and it still works.
Moving right along. Next question from Wolf's Dude. Ask him for his best story he has involving his work involved with gaming.
It's really hard to say that. It always is really hard to come up with a story, because it kind of blurs together. There's a lot of stories that involve thanks from developers. Like, I think the most rewarding was I did a video. I don't want to mention it because obviously it's kind of embarrassing for him, so I'm not going to say what the game is. But I did a WTF is of a game, and this game didn't sell well at all. And the WTF is caused a spike in sales, as it has a tendency to do. And I got an email from him that was really thankful and saying, like, I basically couldn't have paid the rent this month if you hadn't done that.
Wow.
Like, I was going to be kicked out. This was going to be the end for me. You basically saved my ass, and I'm really appreciative of that. And that's cool, because that kind of parallels what Husky did to me, Husky saved my ass in the same way, and as a result of his kindness, I've been able to pay that forward to other people. And I think that sticks in my mind as, you know what, this is, for all the negative bullshit, this is kind of a cool industry to be in.
Kind of very polarizing question from that one. From Secret05, what is the biggest disappointment in life for you?
In life or in gaming?
In life.
Life. I'd probably just have to apply it to gaming again, because I don't think I've ever really, aside from the stuff that I already talked to you about in the previous section about music and not being able to continue with that,
right.
I don't think there really is anything. I've been through a bunch of hardships. They've all worked out in the end one way or the other. So I've never really been disappointed by that per se. So I'm going to co-op the question, talk about the biggest disappointment in gaming instead, because it makes more sense. Like, I can't talk about my disappointments in my life aside from the music thing, because I can't really identify them so much. But I think with gaming, it was certainly seeing a game with such a great idea as, say, Spore fall flat on its face and be a complete disaster area. Such a disappointment for me. Expectations were so high for Spore, and I don't even know what happened. I think maybe they just Will Wright shot for the moon and missed.
Yeah.
And Spore was the result of that. And that actually taught me never to kind of get hyped about a game ever again. I never got hyped in a way that I have for Spore ever again.
Yeah, the hype, I think it was either a video or when they revealed it, like everyone was like, "Oh
Yeah,
shit!"
because it
Like
looked incredible
it
in the
looked
presentation.
incredible, yeah. And then the game came out, and you're kind of like,
This is five. This is 4 mini games in a really boring meta game.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not good. Good. Yes, but yeah, I think that affected me in the sense of like I always approach now every game with skepticism. I don't get hyped about games anymore. Even Planet Side 2, as much as I'm kind of excited about it, nowhere near as much as I was for Spore. Like you ain't seen excited. I used to get hyped about game releases, and I don't anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I think I think a lot of people still do, but each person
so.
has their own reasons. So, from Faust 117. What other commentators have influenced your own style, StarCraft 2 or otherwise? A lot of these are overlapping, but we're going to try to ask every single one.
Yeah, of course. StarCraft 2 wise, like very few really. I think that because I started and my style is very similar to what it was in January 2010 when I first kicked it off. I don't think that anyone in StarCraft really influenced me. I think that 2 commentators outside of StarCraft did that were actually in the gaming scene. One was Octail, the guy who used to be on WC Radio with me, who has the best radio voice I've ever heard. So good. And we actually did a little show together. This was part of what really got me to esports. We did a card gaming show for the World of Warcraft trading card game and the spoils. And even with card gaming, he could get this great sports broadcast hype going, and that influenced me a lot. And I think an Emperor as well, because Emperor did a lot of obscure games. He would do the same thing for stuff like Total War, and it sounded great. And he'd throw in these historical facts, and he'd get really hyped about it like it was a sport. And yeah, I think he influenced me an awful lot. I don't think anyone within the StarCraft scene has influenced me though in terms of style, because again, my style hasn't changed since I started. I didn't even know any of the commentators then, so.
From Mighty Nest, how tough is it to balance all of the other things you do outside of StarCraft while still retaining enough knowledge about StarCraft to cast?
Do I have enough knowledge to cast? Some people would disagree. I think that I retain knowledge fairly well, so anything I can steal from Apollo is good. Like I eventually build up my knowledge because of I see things and I can commit them to memory very easily. If I see a particular opening and Apollo explains why it happens, that will stick with me forever. I won't lose it, so I'm able to build up my knowledge that way. And honestly, I don't get the time to play a lot. I don't get the time to watch a lot. I'll try to watch tournaments where I can. I watched a bit of DreamHack, and I enjoyed that very, very much. That was fantastic. But I think that it's only through osmosis, really, from just soaking in knowledge from other people, that I'm really able to maintain any degree of credible knowledge. I think I've got a lot better lately, and that seems to be reflected in a lot of the comments. People are saying, oh, he's managed to explain something and pointed out something that I didn't understand before and actually made an insightful remark, which would have never happened like a year ago.
Right.
But I think that's how. It's just from doing events and actually learning at those events and on the job is the only way I can keep up with it, and even then it's difficult.
Gotcha. Next question from a unique username.
Of course, yeah. He's actually well known on that subreddit.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
He's been around a lot. Like he is actually a unique username.
Gotcha. Well, first off, he says, "How's America?"
Pretty damn good. Humidity sucks.
There you go. Have you ever thought of doing something that doesn't involve casting in esports? Maybe running stuff behind the scenes like you have with your successful Invitational series?
Nah. I don't know. I don't think I've got anything to bring to the table there, honestly. I have ideas about production, for instance, but I don't have I know what needs to be done. Right. I just don't know how to do it. You want to talk to my brother about music production and things like that. He knows shit. I know that compression needs to be there. I know that normalization needs to be there. I know that every mic's got to be properly EQ'd. I know things about how the way it should be transitioned and how the overlay should be set up to make a really good looking thing, and about the information that should be delivered. And I have no clue how to do any of those things. Yeah. So it's just like I'd be a backseat producer and I'd annoy the fuck out of everyone that knew what they were doing. So I'll stick to what I'm good at, which is being mouthy.
Also from the same user, if you couldn't cast with Apollo, who would you like to partner? Who would you like to partner most, taking everything into consideration? Quality of analysis, chemistry, work ethic, professionalism, etc.
Artosis, probably. In terms of analysis, obviously he's great, but Artosis is also a big nerd, and he would get all my stupid references. Right. It's great to get nerdy with him. He was the one who actually recognized that I was wearing a cap at DreamHack, and it was for a band Amon Amarth. Yeah. And the first thing he said on that, it was not, "Oh, you like that metal band?" No, it was, "Why do you have the?" I think it was that. Yeah, I don't even know it myself. He's that big of an alpha nerd. Like, why do you have the Elvish for Mount Doom written on your head? I'm like, I like you. You can stay. So I think, yeah, definitely him. Like, it would be the nerdiest cast you'd ever hear, and also we would both get pretty hyped. Like, he gets, even as an analyst, he is super passionate about the game, so he gets mega hyped. I think we could do some serious Korean style stuff, and he's the only one that I haven't really had the chance to cast with yet, though I would really like to cast with.
Jesus. From Clearest, he starts out the question, okay, real talk. Have you ever had sex with your top hat on?
No. It would be really awkward. Like, I can just imagine smashing someone in the face with that. That would be, it'd be terrible. Those things are big. They're unwieldy, man. You don't want that. That's... God, I've got some terrible images in my head. No. All
right,
terrible.
let's move on.
That's some legit no fluff stuff right there. Thanks for the great questions, guys. This is really insightful.
From Gobme, he just wants to know how's life.
Pretty damn awesome. It's better than it was. Hell of a lot better than it was.
From Holy Bananas, what's the best experience that you've had out of all the tournaments that you've been to, and why?
They're all pretty good. Well, actually, they're not. Some are shit. But there's, I think, any of the tournaments where you can get to interact with the viewers a lot and the guys in the crowd, and not just be kind of stuck behind a screen is cool. And MLG kind of has an issue where you're not on stage, but from a production standpoint, that's pretty good. Like, MLG looks better than DreamHack for that reason, I think. And DreamHack production values, they're functional. MLGs are actually really good. So I guess it's a sacrifice you have to make. But even then, you can, even on your break, you can go out and actually just interact with the fans. So any tournament that lets you do that and doesn't keep you behind a curtain all the time is good. And I don't think any are better than others in that regard. As long as they let you do that, then it's cool.
From Zeldarin, what is the opinion on the current state of the StarCraft 2 Pro scene as it stands right now?
Pros need to get their fucking act together, especially foreigners. I'm going to level a criticism at EG here. You've got a big-ass house. You have more money than any other team in the scene, and yet your house is essentially a frat house. It is not a training house, and it is showing in your results. Most of your good players aren't even there. Why do we not have Puma and JYP in that house all the time? Why don't you have a proper coach, a proper schedule, and actually train like Koreans do? Koreans are not naturally good at the game. They have the work ethic and the established training regimen. And we don't have that in the foreigner scene. There's been some attempts, like Ministry of Win is trying to do that at the moment. I don't know if it'll even succeed, but I don't see any evidence that foreigners are practicing like Koreans and that they will accept that Korean training regimen. It doesn't mean that they all suck as a result. Stefano, I think, is a great example of a player that flourishes without that. Mana is a good example of a player that flourishes without that. But the vast majority of foreigners need that work ethic, and they don't have it. They just flat out don't have it right now. And that's a real risk, because people have said, oh, well, the elephant in the room, the Kesper players are coming. Start to get a little bit worried, and also start to get really worried if Koreans actually develop a personality. Because you're fucked then. That's the only edge you've actually got over them. If people start liking Koreans not just for their play, but because they're actually animated personalities and brands of their own right, you're screwed. You are absolutely boned. You might as well just give up right now and go back to school, guys. So I'm hoping we see more of that. I don't know how we would really get it, but I think that actually EG needs to lead the way, and they're not. They're really not. From a branding standpoint, they're great, but
right.
That's not a legit training house. I don't think anyone would say that it is.
His next question kind of goes hand in hand with what you're saying. He says, do you think that we are reaching a point of competitive stagnation in the American scene? And if so, what do you think can be done to rectify that?
Well, the same damn thing that I just said. America's having real problems right now. It's got a really large population, and yet has very few good players relative to other things. I mean, consider Poland, for instance. Like, put the Americans against the Poles. Like, the two Polish players that are well known are Nurcio and Mana. Name one American that could reliably beat them. You can't, can you? Because there isn't one. That's the problem. And I don't even know how to fix it. I really don't. It's like you've got a ton of players. I think you've just got players who are just playing on ladder all the time. They're not even playing enough. I mean, you think like a player like Cass, for instance. Cass grinds ladder. Like, he is the hardest working ladder pro ever. And he is good as a result. He's competitive. You know, he's had iffy results in tournaments sometimes, but online he's dominant.
Right.
And you just don't get that in the US. And if I had a quick fix way of fixing it, then trust me, I wouldn't be casting. I'd be owning a team. I don't think that anyone knows the formula yet, but they've got to keep looking at Korea and it's like, why are the Koreans so good? It's not some magical formula. It's the fact that they train, and they train in a house environment, and that directed training will always be better than ladder. In ladder, you've got to learn the ladder metagame.
Right.
That's not the same as the tournament metagame. And if you've got weaknesses, you don't get a chance to practice them. It's like, I've got a weakness against 2-base all-in Protoss. Well, okay, am I going to roll a dice on the ladder and maybe 1 in every 10 times get a 2-base all-in Protoss and get a practice? Or am I going to directed practice against a good 2-base all-in Protoss over and over and over again until I get this shit down? And how do you do that? It's very difficult, and I don't think teams are doing anywhere near enough of that right now.
From Rug_D, he says, ask him if he's played The Witcher 2 yet.
Bits of it. I wish I had time, because that game seems so engaging, but it came out at a really bad time when I was incredibly busy, and I never jumped on it since. It is from what I've heard anyway, it's supposed to be one of the best RPGs ever, and I've only played about a couple of hours of it. What I played of it, I really liked. If I ever get a week to myself, not going to happen, then I will probably play The Witcher 2 then.
From Rob Howard, how does casting/covering WoW compare to casting/covering StarCraft 2?
It's completely different. It's completely different. When it comes to WoW is closer to my WTF stuff. Because WoW is never about esports. The only esports I ever did with WoW was a 3.5-minute arena cast for the shoutcasting contest, which I won, by the way, which should be indicative of how terrible the rest of the
Blizzard YouTube? Or the
Blizzard one. Yeah, the Blizzard Shoutcasting Contest 2009. I won that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who won the American one? Emperor won it.
Really?
Yeah. The two original guys behind Shoutcraft won both of those contests. We hustled that one, I tell you. But that must be indicative of how bad the rest of them were. But because I was talking out my ass, like I had no idea what was going on. I was just
right.
Fucking bullshit. All this was bullshit. But yeah, for me it was. For that, it was all about analysis of the game and the state of the game, pun intended. Whereas StarCraft it's play-by-play. You know, it is play-by-play. It is all about showing what is on screen at the time and hyping, and you can't really do that with WoW. It just doesn't work out. So, two completely different beasts.
From, oh god, I don't even know how to say this word. CACIQUE. Is that an actual word?
Can you type that in chat?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see here.
Maybe
I want to give proper.
I always used to fuck up pronunciation, like in all my mailboxes and things like that. I would screw that up. And on Blue Please, I'd read mails. I'd always get it wrong. Because I had like a massive Scandinavian audience, so I never got it.
Boss?
Kasiki?
Kasiki boss, maybe?
Kasik?
I don't know. Well, he wants to know where's your top hat.
I raffled it off. It is gone. The raffle actually hasn't happened yet, but it is happening soon. Like that, it's a whole charity thing. So I essentially retired the top hat prior to sending it off because I knew I wouldn't have it anymore. Plus, I kind of wanted to go for a little bit of a more serious image rather than being a figure of fun. I wanted to go for the more professional look because at that time, when I went in for the full-on suit thing, when I first unveiled that at Assembly, most casters really weren't doing that. I mean, they had Tastosis in the monkey suits over there. It's better now that they've got them proper suits that don't look ridiculous. Do you remember the whole candy salesman one for Code A?
Yeah,
with the kind of pink candy floss? Like, oh, Jesus Christ, that was terrible. And it's good because a lot more people are doing the whole proper suit, tie, properly tailored shirt, slacks, proper shoes, not goddamn sneakers, shoes.
Yeah.
Now, so I kind of retired the top hat prior to that because I wanted to change the way that I was perceived, and I wanted to change just the way that I looked in general. I mean, no one's going to claim that I look good in that thing. I look fucking ridiculous. But that, at the time, that was kind of the point.
Right.
But now that's not a thing anymore. I don't want to try and get away from that.
So like I said, a lot of these questions were answered in the main episode. But Monzik wants to know: are you on good terms with Gregors now? Gregors, of course, being Idra.
Yes. Yeah, we actually are on really good terms, surprisingly enough. We talk all the time at events, and it's fantastic. Like, he's actually just such a great person. He really is.
Yeah.
And I can also completely relate to him because, like, I used to rage a lot in LoL as well.
Right.
And it's like, I must have acted like a dick. And actually on forums prior to this, let me tell you something I'm really, like, this is something I really regret doing. I used to be the worst person on the WoW forums. On the old WoW forums, like, I would go as far as if I was in a real argument with someone, I'd actually tell them to die of cancer. I'm like, wow, I am a dick.
Yeah.
Why did I say that?
I think we've all been there.
I feel horrible about that. And I think I feel more grown up now. Jesus Christ, that was a fucking tool. But I think online you could do stuff like that, and it feels more justified. And you're not a bad person. You don't really understand
what you're saying.
I don't even know if there is a kind of baseline, because with the internet, do you act the same way as you do in real life? Do you act larger than life?
Right.
What is the kind of netiquette, I suppose? And it's not really been properly established. There were efforts to do it, but the internet's a wild place, and it comes back to what I was saying earlier, that words and what am I looking for? The intent and the malice behind words are not always all that clear.
Yeah, that's true. From Boss Lejve, or Boss Lejve. It's BOSLEJV. Boss Lej? I guess Boss Lejve. I don't know. How do you plan?
Those things, yes.
Yeah. How do you go? Geez, I don't. I'm just reading the questions verbatim. How do you go further in your career?
How do I don't. Like, I just, as I mentioned in the previous one, I want to get bigger from where I currently am. And where I want to be, I want more access, more influence. So hopefully I can get it.
From Kildare, you have quite a lot of English elements in and on your persona, top hat, accent, etc. Are they an elaborate choice to give you yourself some character, or are you really that English? Struggled through
I'm
that
definitely not that English. I don't really. People think I'm really patriotic. Nope. Back when I was in. I'm gonna have to take a call. Actually, could you just give me a quick second?
Sure.
Sorry, I'm going
Sounds
to interrupt this.
Sounds good. All right. Sorry about that, guys. So, as you were saying, which question were we on? Was I reading a new one?
You were reading a new one, I think.
From Saji-san, do you have a role model when you started casting that you wish you could be as good as him or better?
Oh, I remember what we're talking about, actually. It was like the whole top hat thing in the
British. Right.
But yeah, we'll go to that. Like, I'm not a fan of England at all. Like, I hate how apathetic they are. I hate the way that a lot of people are in England. There's just no passion there at all. I dislike the way that our government handles things. There are a lot of things I like the fact that we have an NHS and that we don't just let people die because of lack of insurance. But when I had my flag in the background, I actually used to hang it upside down, which was kind of a mark of disrespect, and that was deliberate. People kept pointing it out. It's like, oh, you've got your flag upside down. Yeah, I am, because while I'm in England, it's just I don't want to be here. now I'm over in America. I hang it the right way up and act all patriotic just to piss off the Americans. So that's how it is. But no, I have no real ties to being British. I don't find that to be something that I would like to identify myself with on a personal level. But as a brand, it's useful. The Cynical Brit is a nice brand. It works. So I wouldn't say it's fake, but I'm definitely not as British as people seem to think I am.
Yeah. So the next one I already read. Do you have a role model when you started casting?
From
Saji-san.
For casting, actually, no. I really can't identify anyone that I would say was a role model per se when it came to casting.
Uh-huh.
I've got role models in the other things that I do, certainly, but not with casting, no.
Next question from Surf74. I would love to know why you, Total Biscuit, chose the Terran Republic over the other factions in Planetside.
It just was the one that I started playing the first, and I think that if you pick a faction and you stick with it for long enough in Planetside, you become really, really loyal to it. Seriously loyal. It just comes down to because you spend a lot of time in game defending bases and attacking bases and taking territory for your chosen faction. In that game, there's a lot of factional rivalry, and I like playing up to that. It's cool. And at the end of the day, they also have the guns that shoot the most bullets, so that's reasonable to me too.
From Ted Noob, what are your long-term plans and possibilities for casters and people in esports? And also, what is your retirement plan and 10-year prognosis?
Retirement plan. Yeah, I don't even have a retirement plan. I just want to keep doing this until I can't speak anymore. Retirement seems incredibly boring. Although chances are, in 20 years, I won't feel that way. So we'll see. When I'm probably worn down, I've lost all of my hair, which at this rate will probably be in the next couple of years. But I don't really have a 10-year prognosis beyond just be bigger than I currently am and get more access and have access to the scene, but stay aloof enough so that I can provide an independent perspective, and I'm not so much an industry insider when it comes to gaming. And when it comes to casting, I do it because it's fun. I pretty much I've got this attitude: got to cast them all. I wanna do every tournament, and the one that's left that I either have not been asked to cast or I just haven't been to. Every other major tournament I've done in some respect. Like, even IEM has asked me to cast, I just have had to turn it down because I've been too busy.
Yeah.
So pretty much every tournament I've ever wanted to cast, I have cast or been invited to cast. The only other one is, of course, GSL. And
Right.
honestly, I don't think I even want to do GSL. Considering the reception people get in GSL, fuck that, it's not worth a hassle.
That's basically throwing them into a den of wolves. It's bad.
That can be the white whale, and I'm just going to do what anyone should have done in the white whale situation, which is like, fuck it, just leave the white whale alone. It's not worth it.
From it's X-Ray. Out of all the
Great name.
he uses actual with quotations, casters, who do you think is the best at playing StarCraft 2?
The best at playing StarCraft 2? Well, I mean, at this stage, it's probably Rotterdam, I would think. Alright, Artosis is pretty good. Rotterdam is probably better, because I think chances are he plays more actively. Everyone picks up on the whole Day 9 has GM in 3 accounts thing, but you never know what to think about Day 9 in that respect. Maybe he does. He's a very talented guy. I don't see where he get the fucking time. But I think it's probably Rotterdam right now. Probably followed by Wolf as well.
From Bleep Bloop Blip, talk about your changes in attitude from 5 years ago to today, martying yourself on Reddit, the elitist jerks, and Team Liquid forums, etc. How'd you manage to stop that? We talked a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting they brought the elitist jerks thing up, because I really fucking marred myself on that, that was...
I guess hit on that more, since we didn't hit on that in the show, the EJ.
Yeah, there was... EJ is what you might think, and it is... the label for elitist jerks is very accurate. There's a lot of ex-goons on there, as well as a lot of current goons. So a lot of the something awful attitude comes over to elitist jerks. And I think the issue with elitist jerks was a long-ass time ago, where what I was trying to do was essentially kind of bridge the gap between raiders and the kind of casuals. There was a lot of animosity between the two, and I put something together called the Four Horsemen, which was this big round table between 4 big guilds, like Nihilum, Method, Curse, and Death and Taxes. It's like pretty much the biggest you could possibly get. It'd never been done before. I went to Elitist Jerks for support, and they just blew me off completely. So I think I then got into a big fight on Elitist Jerks, and for me it was genuinely a case of as a raider, but not a really great raider. I didn't want this fighting to happen. It's like your parents fighting. It's like, Mommy, Daddy, please stop fighting. Because I had 1 foot in the kind of more casual scene and 1 foot in the raiding scene. And I hated the fact that there was so much animosity, and I genuinely wanted something to be done about it, and neither scene wanted that. It became obvious at that point. Neither scene gave a shit.
Right.
EJ didn't care that the casual scene didn't like them, and I see, looking back, I totally see that point. Why give a damn about those kind of people? I became progressively more disillusioned with the casual scene because of the crying for nerfs and everything like that and the state that the game got in. As regards to how my attitudes changed, I think I stopped giving a shit. You know, I think when I got big enough to essentially not jump on bandwagons, but be the bandwagon, be the driver of it, and I know that because so many people pay attention to what I say, that my opinion matters. I don't feel the need to prove myself to people like that anymore. So, for me, it's like, well, if someone doesn't want to work with me, that's actually their loss now. I'm not reliant on them anymore. It's the same with gaming. If a game company doesn't want to work with me, I work with another one. Because there'll always be someone that wants to play ball and do an interview or get me pre-release code or do something exclusive. So, because I'm the guy in the driver's seat, as opposed to what I used to be, I think that in itself has kind of engendered an attitude change with me. Even though I would like to say, oh, it's because I've become a better person, I've really grown up as a person. No, I haven't. Not at all. I still think this, I just don't post it. And I'm too busy to post it anyway.
Right. Let's see here. From Tabula Somnia, interesting name. Favorite metal song or album or band?
Favorite metal song is Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, from the album Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden, which I just heard played live last night with the first time since 1988.
Wow.
They've played that song live.
Was that a religious experience for you?
It actually kind of was, yeah. It was a bit transcendent. I don't so much remember the song as I remember the atmosphere of the song and how much they goddamn nailed it. They did it so well.
From Texan Coins, how long do you see yourself doing videos on YouTube? Will Total Biscuit hang up his hat? Kind of already hit on that, but...
No. I will stay on YouTube as long as YouTube remains a viable place for my business to be. If I need to leave YouTube and go elsewhere, then I'll go elsewhere, but I'll still do the same stuff as I do now.
I like this next question from Smirko. I don't really care about anything he has to say about anything, but he's a decent caster. Ask him if he takes vocal lessons or whatever.
No, I don't. It's a lot of practice over a lot of time. Since I started doing this essentially at 13, it's given me a lot of time. I used to be a singer. You didn't know this, probably you didn't. Before my voice broke, I actually sang at weddings. Like, I'd sing Ave Maria and shit like that. I get paid a lot of money to do it as well. I was really good. And then my voice broke and everything went horribly wrong for me. But I think that it's just been a lifetime of using my voice in some way or another, and also a lot of musical experience with a woodwind instrument that's helped me build to this state of having the stamina, the endurance, and the proper vocal technique.
So I'm pre-reading these questions before I go into the next one. From Lades, TB, you said you might consider doing TCG in the future for your YouTube channel, Big Maybe. Having watched Will Wheaton's show, and as someone who's never really played TCG/board games as a kid, I can't help but feel it would be a really great idea. It's really quite hard to find quality TCG board game videos on YouTube.
That's because it's really hard to film them. Yeah. It's genuinely difficult unless you have the budget of those guys. You know, those guys got money from YouTube to make that series, and they've got a hell of a lot of experience in and of themselves. How would I film it? I think the best way to do it is actually represent a card game using tools on a computer, which you can do. It's very easy to do that. You can use stuff like Magic Workstation, I think it's called, or Octagon. They're both pretty good for that. But even then, it's difficult to properly represent it. I was able to do a video on Magic Planeswalker 2012, and that was pretty easy too. But I want to show other stuff, because I actually think, genuinely, that the World of Warcraft TCG is still one of the best out there. It's got some fantastic mechanics. It's really, really good. Even if you don't play WoW, it's actually a really great game to play, and Cryptozoic are taking it in some great directions. I would love to do it, I just don't see how I currently could. I would think I'd need a production team to do it, and I don't have one right now. So, not an option at present.
A side question that I have: did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons?
Limited, very limited.
Do you have any interest in doing that?
Bits and pieces, yeah. I'd love to play it legit. I don't think I'd even play D&D though. I'd play something like Dark Heresy, which is the Warhammer 40,000 pen and paper. Because that's such a great universe to me. I know so much about that universe. I think I'd really get into it. Whereas D&D, to me, you know, from an outside perspective, is kind of generic. Because of course they set the generic. They are the baseline.
Right.
The Dark Millennium and Warhammer 40,000 universe is so good, and I'd love to play some Dark Heresy, but I just don't get the time.
From Vitalik123, I've been following you since the starting days of WoW Radio. During one of the podcasts you were a part of there, you mentioned the fact that you were part of university's radio station and that you've always had a huge interest in that sort of stuff. Can I assume from that you were always, quote-unquote, destined to end up in a sort of career that you are now, or did you have other plans?
No, I think that when I got so involved in the station, maybe 2 years down the line, I became less interested in the degree that I was doing beyond simply passing it. I was looking into radio. I was looking into music DJing mostly, and my aspiration at that point was to get a extreme metal show on one of the national stations. But at that point, I think possibly as a result of radio becoming less relevant, because you've got Spotify and people have ways to find new music now better than they ever did, and the dominance of the major labels is starting to be eroded. So at that point, I thought, well, what doesn't have good enough coverage? Well, gaming. Gaming definitely doesn't. So
Right.
I think that's why I'm where I am now.
Next question from VanGuy79. Being an esports caster and having a job making movies and earning money from YouTube or Twitch is a new phenomenon. How do you feel is the future of social media / electronic frontier, and will it be a viable industry?
It already is a viable industry. So it's just a simple answer. At the end of the day, I'm able to support a company, and I'm not even the one making the most money off this stuff. There are way more people like Yorkscast, people like Syndicate, and a lot of the larger machinima commentators make more money than I do doing this, and I make enough. Like, more money than I could have ever possibly imagined,
Right.
and more than I've earned in any other job by several orders of magnitude. So it already is a viable industry. The question is, will it be interfered with by anything? Will it maybe it's legislation that interferes with it? Maybe it's games companies suddenly deciding, you know what, we want to start laying copyright claims down to this stuff, because it's still very much a kind of gray area.
Right.
It wouldn't affect me. In fact, actually, it might be really good for me, because a lot of the guys kind of soaking up the majority of the revenue are doing games that might turn around and say, no, you can't do this anymore. And for me, it's like, I don't care. I do indie games. No indie game's going to stop me from doing this. So, yeah, it's already viable. And it's only going to get more viable if it keeps going at the rate that it is.
From Chobo Face, are you going to have children? Just blunt question.
Yeah, probably. I would think so. Not right now,
Yeah.
but maybe sooner rather than later. I already have what is essentially an adopted son. I'm his stepdad. It's Jen's kid. I'll probably want to have one of my own some point. Once we're all settled down, I think we've got to find out where we want to live and really get everything nailed down and settled down, and then at that point, probably.
Okay, this is a kind of personal question from Rose-esque. Dear TB, I know that you were slim some days ago, and I read that you started eating a lot and gaining weight because you were separated from your wife. But now that you moved to the States, you live together, will you start working out and eating properly? You looked awesome when you were thin.
I already have. I don't think I was ever actually thin. People point to the picture. I think I was wearing that Control-Alt-Delete shirt. That was a really old picture of me, and I definitely a hell of a lot slimmer than I was now. But I still wasn't all that great looking by any stretch. I still used to be. I was a bit pudgy all the time because I just don't work out in general. But I've already lost 12 to 15 pounds since I've been here. We're kind of focusing on a protein-based low carb diet, which seems to be working pretty well for me, and I'm definitely eating healthier than I am. So it's a goal, certainly. Like, exercise-wise is difficult. I think because I just don't have the time. When it comes to dieting, though, that's not as difficult, because at least I can focus on my work now, and I'm not focused on the problems that I used to have, and kind of comfort eating and things like that. I've cut bread out of my diet completely. It's just gone.
Ooh,
I don't snack anymore. I only drink water. So yeah, it's helped a lot.
From Epic Dio or DYO, the biggest difference between America and England after moving there. Does you prefer America or England in both a professional sense and a personal sense? Do you feel that moving over was a huge boost to your career?
It definitely helps. From a professional sense, it is great to be able to get access to a lot of different events. Although, having now been to E3 and seeing what a waste of fucking time it was, I have to wonder whether or not I should have just stayed in Europe and maybe flown over to Germany. And because Gamescom was just the best experience for us from a business standpoint. It was a huge boost to us. Gamescom does things right. E3 is hype. Gamescom is a good balance between consumer show, hype, and actual work. Like, you want to get interviews there, you want to get gameplay footage there, you can get it. But I do have access to a lot of studios now, which is helpful. There's a lot of studios in the States, a lot of opportunities from an esports standpoint and from a regular standpoint. So I can get involved in that. From a personal standpoint, the food over here is a hell of a lot better, except for the bread. That's fucking terrible. It tastes like cake. So that's fine, though. It made it easier for me to give up bread entirely, because your bread tastes like crap. So...
Getting a lot of multiple or like same questions that you've already answered at least.
Yeah,
twice.
of course we can skip those.
From Zerd, if your life, this is an interesting one. If your life was a breakfast meal, what would it contain and how would you eat it?
The hell? What kind of question is that?
I don't.
They like just toss it in there. It's like, oh, I'm going to say something deep and metaphorical.
Oh, the next one's even better. So.
No, I'm really not going to do that. Perhaps it would be a pot roast hash. A pot roast hash. It looks incredibly delicious on the outside, but the consequences afterwards are fairly grim sometimes. I guess that's probably about as deep as I can go with it.
Okay. From Grack, did I say? Yeah. From Gracksploitation.
Gracksploitation.
Here's my question. If you were sent to a dystopian future, would you conspire to assassinate the president to save the world?
Yes. That's the simple answer to that. Yeah. That's the kind of thing I would do. Like, I hate injustice. And right now I can only fight it with a YouTube channel. If I was able to fight injustice by taking out a corrupt president of a dystopia, I probably would, although knowing my luck, I'd probably screw it up. My hand-to-eye coordination is terrible. I'd need assisted aiming.
Scrolling down these from Humulus. How the hell do you manage time? I mean, you've got StarCraft 2 events, mailbox, what the fuck is, etc., etc.
With great difficulty. I think it's because Jen can help me now. Before, I bet just wasn't managing time, and I'd inefficiently work, and I woke up till I went to bed all the time. That would be all my life was, because I was inefficient. Now I've got a bit more time to spend with the family, because I'm able to do videos in a more effective manner, and my time is better managed by somebody else that isn't me.
From Benvolio Otter, did any gaming organization or website/blog offer you a salary job ever? What are your reasons for not taking it?
Pretty much all of them, actually. I don't know if it's kosher to really say who, but pretty much every major site, like the big ones that you know of, has at some point offered me something like that. I turned it down because of the lack of freedom, and I think that I've built up a reputation as kind of an independent and as someone that's honest. And regardless of what good work some of these organizations can do, they're not known for that. A lot of big mainstream gaming sites are known as being biased. They're known as not providing good quality reviews, from not really knowing what they're talking about, and I don't want to be associated with that. It's not good for me. And at the end of the day, it's also really hard for them to offer a salary that is better than what I earn on YouTube.
From Dvorak FTW, ask him where he got his name from. No, I don't want to look it up on Google or be told why here. I would like to hear it straight from
lazy bastard. It's from a book called Carpe Jugulum. It is written by Terry Pratchett, who is one of my favorite authors. It's a one-time reference in a naming ceremony, whereby the naming ceremony involves something along the lines of people being told, people being named after certain words that are said at a certain time. And in this case, it results in some really odd names, including Total Biscuit, and that's the only reference that's ever made in Carpe Jugulum, and that's where I got my name from. And originally, I used to have a name that was also from that universe, which was more well-known, called Soul Cake. There's a character in that called the Soul Cake Dog,
That's
which
right.
is
I forgot to mention
deity.
that. Because that's what you originally known, right?
I used to be called Soul Cake, yeah, but that was a more well-known name, and it was sometimes taken, so I changed to Total Biscuit, because nobody had it then, and now everyone tries to get it now.
Trying to scroll down here. This one will actually help. From CWDUK, do you actively play StarCraft 2? If so, does this involve laddering? Just
yes,
for you.
But very rarely. I play kind of a lot of custom games when I get the chances, because it's nice to dip into. I play a little bit of Warships right now, but I will ladder. I don't ladder a lot, because I don't so much have ladder fear, but I exhaust myself. I psych myself up. I play a ladder game. I win it, and then I just don't play another one. So like, right, that's me done for the week. Or if I lose, I just get angry and just leave. So yeah, I do play it, but if I'm not streaming it, it's difficult to motivate myself to play more than one game at a time.
I I think we might be it. I'm loading extra things now at the bottom. Oh, do you and Jesse still plan to do Terraria from
Yes.
Phone?
Yeah, definitely. We're just taking a little break from it. We'll be back on it soon.
From Slippery Joe, would you agree that WoW made you what you are now?
I think it did. I don't see how it couldn't have, really. It gave me the opportunity. I'm not grateful to it. I think people say, oh, you should be more grateful to Blizzard. Blizzard didn't do jack shit. Hell, most of what I was known for was criticizing all the mistakes they made. So I think that it did make me who I am now. Yes, it had an undeniable influence on my business and from a personal standpoint. I think that should be fairly obvious just because of how many videos I made on it and how much content I produced. You can't make a podcast on a thing for 5 years and not have it affect you in some way.
All right, and the final question after all these trolls from DG Medonja. He says,
Okay.
You must ask him this. Hi, I'm not from the UK, but did you ever watch the TV series Only Fools and Horses? Thank you.
Yes. I don't think anyone in the UK hasn't watched Only Fools and Horses at some point. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I have watched it, and it is funny from time to time. Yeah, that series is... I think it represents what the UK is all about, really.
There you go. All right, man. Well, that is all the user questions. Huge shout out to the community for coming in. 308 comments on that. Reddit
Thanks,
post.
guys.
So, John, I've spent all Saturday afternoon with you. So
Do you feel closer to me now, JP?
I feel a little bit closer, and I hope that our viewers do as well. So thank you so much once again. Do you have any final words here for this portion, the final portion of the video?
Thank you very much to all my supporters and viewers. Please continue watching my videos. I do very much enjoy it when you do, and hopefully you're liking them as well. And of course, thanks to the guys that make Cynical Brit possible, which is my wife Jenna, my graphic designer, and my upload staff Christian, as well as my PR guy Frank, and also to my researcher Peter. So thank you very much to all of you for that, and you are awesome.
There you go. All right, guys. We will be back with more Real Talk sometime this week. Thanks again for watching. It was a fun show. Total Biscuit, again, thank you for coming on. We'll see you guys later.
No problem, man.
We are out.